Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt, all demonic thought, all the powers of Mustama and Satanal and Hashatan that may be lodged in your consciousness, in your center of your mind, within the center of your being, within your 12 cranial nerves, within your 12 melon centers, within your axons and your dendrites, through your left and your right ventricle of your heart that pumps oxygenated and deoxygenated blood throughout your body, throughout your iron, your two eyes, your nose and your nostrils, your ears, your left and your right ear, and things you put in your mouth throughout the week, throughout your cell phone, your digital devices, and throughout while you sit in the house, walk by the way, when you lie down, you rise up. And bring all these evil things under subjection unto Yahushua Mashiach and put it under his feet. And bring it under subjection in your mind, in your thoughts, in your inner being. For today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us as a Natan, a gift, another Shabath, that we may cease from our labors, our ways, and our own thoughts, and our own mind, and our own will, and our selfish self, that we may ride upon the high places upon the wings of the wind, that we may forget what's behind and reach toward the high calling of Yahushua Mashiach. For if you then be risen with Yahushua Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Yahushua Mashiach sits at the right hand in the highest Shamayim, above the 13th Shamayim, above all gods and all beings in the earth, in the Rakia, and on the earth and in the center of the earth. For today we acknowledge the one Yahuwah who sits in the highest Shamayim on his throne, his sapphire throne, with this Ben Yahusha sitting at his right hand, giving all praise and honor to his Father, and respecting his Father and his precepts and his understanding and his debar. For today we acknowledge the one who made all the har of the earth, all in the har of the earth, the rivers and streams, who gives rain and snow during their appointed seasons, the one who gives life and understanding to all creatures in the yam, in the trees, in the sea, in the rivers, in the streams, to the trout, to the animals, to the bears, right, to the does, to the dads of the world, to the bears that have bear cubs, the one who gives life and understanding to all the great white sharks, the one who gives life and understanding to all the roe and the deer and all the things that people overlook and they run over with their cars, the one who gives life and understanding to all the plants and the animals and the trees to make them rejuvenate themselves, even as the human body, Yahuwah Elohim. So this Yom, as we move forward in kindness, we move forward in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Why? Because all these are a part of the fruits of the Ruach, things that give birth within yourself. Even after 9 months after a woman is pregnant, after a woman gives conception within herself, she gives birth to a child. And after those actual fruits are produced inside of you, then you give birth to your new self. But are you going to resist? They say resistance, it will be worthless for you on the day of judgment, to resist that new man and that new person that's supposed to resurrect after this life. Right, so this is the book of Psalms, Tahalim, Psalms chapter 100, Psalms chapter 100, Tahalim chapter 101, Psalms chapter 101, Tahalim 101, right? 101. Amazingly, you look at that 100, what do you look at? Kuf, right? But here we go. And it says right here, and it says, make a joyful noise to Yahuwah all the earth. He said, make a joyful noise. Serve Yahuwah with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Why? Because you come before his presence with rapping. Right? No, he said come before his presence with singing. Why? Because Yahuwah likes the pleasant sounds of your voice. He likes the pleasant sounds of you actually having to put effort in to make a tone in the sound vibrational frequency and to put it out so he may hear it. He may hear your gracious tones and how you need him. Why? Because that's important. Right? So that word for joyful in Psalms 100, right? We're going right into it. Why? Because it's important, right? The word for joyful in Psalms 100, right? Getting to Psalms 100, that word for joyful is, it says make a joyful noise, right? That word for joyful noise is ruah. Right? You know that ruah, a shout, an alarm, it means what? Joyful, a joyful noise. Right? Just the same thing when we do ruah to ruah. But it's also something that one needs to do when you come into the presence of Yahuwah. He says coming for his presence with gladness. That word for gladness is simcha. Simcha. Come before his presence with gladness, joyfulness, Simcha. Why? Why you gotta be Simcha? Because Yahuwah can detect when we are not. Why? And it says, come before his presence with singing. That word for singing is Reyna'ah. Reyna'ah. It means what? Singing, triumphing, a joyful voice. Reyna'ah. Reyna'ah, right? Going back to that Psalms 103. Know that Yahuwah, he is Elohim. Right? How you gonna know that? Because all error and doubt is now coming from your mind. Because Satan, the artificer of all iniquity, as we talk about in Acts, the Nazarenes, what does he talk about? Or the Acts of the Shalakim, the Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim, where we talked about the Satan and his artificer of all iniquity, the one who creates all error and doubt in your mind, who takes you from one Amunah and one Elohim. And the only way he can do that is to steal your joy, right? To steal your Simcha. That's all he wants. Know that Yahuwah, he is Elohim, and it is he who made us, and we are his, and we are his people, and the sheep of his pasture. See, that's the whole point. So when people start saying it's mine, you my sheep, you're mine. No. You're my sheep. You're my people that come to my place, or you're my sheep. No, he said his sheep and his people, right? Ain't yours, right? That's the whole point. You can't take ownership of what's not yours. That's covetousness. And then when you start practicing covetousness against Yahuwah's stuff, then guess what? Yahuwah gonna judge you. Thou shalt not covet. Right? Because remember, he said, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's house, wife, ox, donkey, what? Anything. Sheep, lamb. You shouldn't cover his car, his earth, right? His trees. Right? Then Yahuwah comes out, I'm gonna judge you too. Because it's my stuff. Right? And it says, verse 4 says, enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and barak his name. Why? Because it's all my stuff. You're my people, you're my sheep, you're my people, and then guess what? Give honor to the person who owns everything. Because he the master of the earth. He the master of spirits. But it says right here, verse 5, for Yahuwah is good. See, that's the difference. He ain't saying Yahuwah is evil. No, Yahuwah ain't evil. He said Yahuwah is good. When you're in this type state, he said Yahuwah is good. Yahuwah's like, you my sheep, you understand me, you know my name, you know what I do, you know you're my sheep, and this is my pasture. And then he says, I'm good. And then he says, his steadfast love endures forever. That's what he wants inside of man. Man, woman, child. He desires in man steadfast love. That's how we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We talked about there was no steadfastness, steadfastness inside of the people of Yasharal. But it says right here, and his faithfulness to all generations, even this generation that we currently live in today, right? Because you know what, this generation, like they think that he don't exist, but he does, right? He does, right? So going to 1 John, all of you Ukanan, 1 John chapter 2. 1 John, all of you Ukanan, chapter 2, verse 18. All of you Ukanan, 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. This is the verse that they breathe Qahalath, right? The New Testament. 1 John chapter, or all the book of Acts in one book, right? But they took it off, put it all over. And it said right here, verse 2:18, it says, children, it is the last hour. Why? Why would he say children? What do children do when their parents? They rejoice and they praise his name. They praise Yahuwah. Their parents. Children, it is the last hour, and you have heard that anti-Mashiach is coming. He said anti-Mashiach. So now many anti-Mashiachs have come. He said anti-Mashiach. He said many of them have come. Therefore, we know that it's the last hour. Why do you mean this? We know this is the last hour. He said, how do you know that? He said there are anti-Mashiachs, right? Why would he say anti-Mashiachs? right? This verse going to Aleph Yukanan 2:18. That word for anti, they say anti-Mashiach. Of course, it's a Greek word. It's a Greek word, but still, it's a Greek word, and it says right here. That word for anti-Mashiach is antichristos. Like they call it. They call it the antichristos. It means it's an anti-Mashiach, an opponent of Mashiach. He said, you're an opponent. Like, think about being an opponent to Yahushua Mashiach. Why would you want to be an opponent to him? He said, how do you know his opponents? How do you know the opponent? How do you know any Mashiachs? He said, how do you know it? Right, so this is the book of, that's the one thing that people don't know. How do you know an anti-Mashiach? Right? This is how you know an anti-Mashiach. This is an anti-Mashiach. Going to 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 1. This is how you know. This First Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1. And it says right here, now concerning the matter about you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. Why would he say that? But because of temptation of sexual immorality, why? Because of all the things that's in the world, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. Why? Because they wrote to Shaul about a question that they had in Corinth. Because everybody wasn't operating like how Yasharal was operating. They were not. And get what it says. The husband shall give his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife her husband. Right? Skipping over to verse 5. Verse 5. This is what I want. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps in agreement for limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer, but then come together again so that Satan may not tempt. Right? Satan may not tempt you because you are lack of your lack of that fruit, that last part of yourself, that last fruit that people don't have. Your lack of self-control. Right? He gonna tempt you, right? He said, how you know an anti-Mashiach? This is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 1. Galatians chapter 5 verse 1. Go to 5 and 7. Galatians 5 and 7. It says, you were running well, like, you know how people run well, you start off the race really well. Man, you were running full speed around there. You got 5 laps, you got 4 laps around. Ooh, you hit the wall. Who hindered you to obeying the truth? He said, who hindered you? He said, how you gonna know an anti-Mashiach? What is anti-Mashiach? This persuasion is not from him who calls you. He said, how you gonna know an anti-Mashiach? Because Satan, the artificer of all iniquity, he gonna try to stop you from obeying the truth. So how do you know an anti-Mashiach? An opponent. Get what it says? A little leaven leavens the whole lump. He gonna try to stop you from that understanding too. Kagmatza, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, did he actually say you need to do that? Did he actually say a little leaven leavens a whole lump? Did he actually say that you can have a little leaven? It doesn't matter. Your little leaven, right? You say anti-Mashiach, right? And it says, I have confidence in Yahuwah that you will have no other view, and that the one who is troubling you will bear the penalty, whoever he or she is, right? But how do you know anti-Mashiach, right? Skipping over to verse 5:16. Galatians 5:16. But I say, walk by the Ruach, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Right? For the desires of the flesh are against the Ruach. So how do you know that's an opponent? It's in opposition of. Yahuwah says something and they say something opposite. This is what you call an anti-Mashiach. Mashiach, somebody who goes against an opponent to Yahushua Mashiach, to his teachings, to his walk. Wow, how do you know that? Because it's opposite. And his desires of the Ruach are against the flesh. And these are opposed to each other. They are what? They are anti-Mashiach. They're opposing. He says, so you oppose what he says, right? And this is right here, to keep you from doing the things you want to do. He said to keep you from doing the things you want to do, because they're going to oppose you. You think about that. When you start fighting and quarreling, going back and forth, you're not get anything done in life. You have all the things you want to do that day will be gone. Your time will be spent. You're going to be all over the place. You're going to be like, man, I just wasted a whole day, and another day, and another day, and another day. And guess what? Nothing getting accomplished in your life. Nothing going down. Everything's going down. Why? You don't get to do what you want to do. But if you are led by the Ruach, you are not under the law. You are not under the Torah. Why? Because you're now walking according to the Ruach. And the Ruach don't do certain things. Now the works of the flesh are evident. Sexual immorality. That's the first thing that people got to attain in their body. Your desires within your flesh. That is your sexual appetites. That's the strongest energy on earth. For a man and a woman right now on earth. Why? Because that's the strongest thing on the earth right now. It's strong in your flesh. Why? Because once you tame that, then guess what? Sexual immorality, that's pornography, fornication, adultery, incest, stripping, all that stuff that people do today. Once you tame that within yourself, then you have other things you got to tame. It's that sexual immorality. Evil thoughts, lustful mind, right? Filthy cargo in your mind, like cargo. Like you be freight forwarding your thought process across the ocean, across the world, right? Between the Balkan Sea, or you be traveling through the Magellan, Strait of Magellan, or he say the Caspian Sea, bringing your stuff all the way through the currents, all the way across the world. Yeah, you can do that now. You can project it through the internet. Yeah, you gotta bring all this stuff in subjection. Impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger. You can do that all across the world too. And you get all entangled with people all across the whole world, all in a whole other country. They can do that now. And it means what? Dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, orgies, rivalries, right? All these are part of it. And things like these, and many other things that's under the umbrella of these things, which means you're going to have to think. Because it ain't just, oh, that's it. No, you got to think. Everything has an umbrella. And under that umbrella, you have other things that you have to do. It's the same thing with demons. We got Al-Sabi of Abunalek, but he got like 4,000 demons under him. That's like 4,000 other things that you got to deal with. Right, so we start thinking about how vast this world is created, right? It's not just one thing. It's things that are umbrella under it. You gotta have to think. You can't put it. There's no way you can put all that on a PowerPoint in a presentation. Nobody can go through every single thought in your consciousness. He said that's not my job. He said that's a whole nother subject, right? And it said right here, I warn you. And I warned you before that those who do such thing will not inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. Why we keep repeating this? Because we're reading things that won't get us in. That won't allow us to inherit it. That won't allow us to possess your soul. Or he said and Yahuwah said, but the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. When you have self-control, when you have lack of self-control, then Satan can tempt you. But if you have self-control, then Satan can't tempt you. It will be like, I gotta have it, and then you lose self-control. See, these are the parts of oneself. Once you tame that, then you become this another being, this new person. But why would he say any Mashiach? Because they're gonna be against you. Why? Because they're gonna war with you. And you're going to war with other people, and you're going to war within yourself. But he said, against such, there is no law. There's no law against doing that. Why? Because when these things start to rise in your heart, it can turn you into an anti-Mashiach. I say it like they call it anti-Mashiach, right? Right. So we're going to 1 John, Aleph Yuchanan. We're gonna get out of here, out of this brief kind of sharp. It says Aleph Yuchanan 4 and 1. Here we go. Aleph Yuchanan 4 and 1. It says, beloved. 1 John chapter 4 verse 1. Beloved, do not believe every ruach, every spirit. Why? Because they could be an anti-Mashiach. Do not believe every ruach, but test the ruach to see whether they are from Elohim or Yahuwah, or for many false prophets, Nabiyah, prophetesses, have gone into the world. There's many anti-Mashiachs in the world. You get what it says? But this you know, that the ruach of Elohim, and every ruach that confesses that Yahushua has come in the flesh is from Elohim, right? So everyone that confesses this, how you confess that Yahushua has come in the flesh? So how do you confess that? Say, I know him. That's what the people say. I know him. I'm testifying. I'm a witness. So how do you really confess how he's coming in the flesh? And every ruach that does not confess Yahushua is not from Elohim. Why? Because Yahushua was telling people to abstain from certain things, to stop doing certain things. To do what? To stop saying certain things. You know, it has been said that if a man hate his neighbor and love his enemy, but all these things, he's trying to get you to stop. So how do you get to your point where you're actually saying, hey, you know what? I'm confessing Yahushua Mashiach. Why? By doing what he actually said. Because everybody ain't professing him. They just, I know him. I can show you in the Torah. But can you actually do what he said? That's the whole point. That's how you really confess it. Teaching him is just one truth of it. Actually doing it is a whole nother subject. And that's your life. Right? And every ruach that does not confess Yahushua is not from Elohim. This is the ruach of anti-Mashiach. He said, you are an opponent to Yahushua Mashiach. And what did Yahushua do to all his opponents that came and tempted him? Right? It says, which you heard was coming and now is in the world already. He already knew. He said, there's so many of them. It said, little children, you are from Elohim and have overcome them. For he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. He said, you can see so many in the world today, anti-Mashiach. He said, you greater than him. It don't matter how great they get, how big they get, how many names they got, how many people follow them, how many things they can say, it sounds really great. He said, it don't matter. If they try to get you to turn away from the truth of Yahushua Mashiach and the bar and the Torah and the things that's written in and the patterns of Yahushua Mashiach and his words and his sayings and what he told everybody to do, you already know. Like you say, already won? No, I already know what you trying to do. It ain't gonna work. And this is verse 5. They are from the world. That's how you know. The people they promote, the people they throw in your face, the person, the man, woman they throw in your face, these are things that they put in your face to do what? They are from the world. And guess what? Therefore they speak from the world. And the world listens to them. He said they'd avoid like the stuff like this. They'd be like, we not listening to that. We listen to this. Because remember, I always say we like poison trees. Anything that got poison in it, thing that's bad for you, we attract to it. Like it ain't. It's like mosquitoes. It's like bugs on the light. And we'll attract to it. You know why? Because it's important for us to have that in our life, because it just makes us feel better about ourselves. But in actuality, the same people who are saying these things that we attract to that are evil are just as evil as you. And it says, in the world, and listen to them. We are from Elohim, Yahuwah. Whosoever listens to Elohim, listens to us. That's what it says. Whoever is not from Elohim does not listen to us. By this we know the ruach of truth and the ruach of error. Because we know, he said, that's how you know who Satan is and who not. He said, that's how we know. Why? That's how you know, right? So this is 1 John. Last thing we're gonna go out here. 1 John chapter 1 verse, actually 2 John chapter 1 and verse 6. 2 John chapter 1 verse 6. So how do you know this? It says, and this is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment, just as we have heard from the beginning. What commandment we heard from the beginning? Beginning of what? So that you should walk in it. What commandment he talking about? For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not confess Yahushua Mashiach in the flesh. Such a one is the deceiver and anti-Mashiach. He said, you anti-Mashiach, because you're an opponent. So what is the commandment that you heard from the beginning? Going back, this is going to verse 4. Going to verse 4. I rejoiced greatly to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as we were commanded by our Father. And now I ask you, dear lady, not as though I were writing you a new commandment, but the one you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Aha. Because that's the first fruits of the Ruach. That's how you start it. You know, I say ready, set, go, love. You know how we have these races? Ready, set, go, rivalries. That's the race we do. Ready, set, go, dissension. Ready, set, go, sexual immorality. Ready, set, go. That's what we do. Ready, set, go. Right, off to the races. How you say, we running full speed at it. Ready, set, go, hatred. Ready, set, go, strife. Ready, set, go, slander. Ready, set, go, schemes, plots. That's what we do. But he said, that's ready, set, go, love. That's the first thing you need to do. Love. Then you get joy. He said, that's the first thing. Ready, set, go. Let's do this thing, right? But it said right here, those who do not confess Yahushua Mashiach in the flesh, such a one is the deceiver. A deceiver. He said, what kind of deceiver are you? Watch yourselves. Well, how are we watching? With our iron. We talk about this, the 7 eyes and 7 near on the lampstand. And iron means what? Watch, experience, right? It means see. Watch yourselves. You know what I say? He said, I ain't got to watch. You see, that's the problem. You got to watch yourself. I got to watch me. You got to watch you. Everybody got to watch each other. You say, why? Because I got to watch. I got to watch me. I know me. He said, do you know you? I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I like, and I know what I don't like. I know my faults. I know the things I don't like to see. I know the things I don't like to hear. I know the things I don't like to have in my mind, right? The same thing with other person. It may be totally different because everything ain't good for everybody, right? So it's all about you. Watch yourselves so that you may not lose what we have worked for, but may win a full reward. You want to already won. I want a full reward. Just like you count 7 full weeks. You know how people say, I ain't gonna count 7 full weeks to get to Kol Shagur. And then I guess you don't want the reward. 7 full weeks. They quit. You know, they say, man, the training hard, man. Woo. 7 full weeks, 7 times a day for 7 weeks. Right, it's training hard. You telling me I gotta go do all this? Man, it's hard. And it said, what it says? It says, we have worked. It says, we have worked for that we may have a full reward. Everyone who goes on ahead and does not abide in the teachings of Mashiach, there you go. You are anti-Mashiach. A teachings of Mashiach does not have Elohim. So this is not that hard. You know, people say this is hard. No, it ain't. Whosoever abides in his teaching, in the teachings, has both the Father and the Son, Ab and the Ben. That's the whole point. And some people make it hard, like, I don't want to do it. It's just who I am. And then it becomes like, man, you really are not getting this, right? If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, What's it? Ready, set, go, love. And you know what people do? Ready, set, go, strife. Ready, set, go. He says, do not receive him into your what? In your house. So what he coming to come do? We talked about virginity. We're going to talk about part 7 next week. But he talks about what? Defiling the sanctuary, defiling your house. He said they came in to try to defile your virginity. They wanted to defile your virginity. They wanted to defile you. They ain't going to bring the teaching of Mashiach. They ain't bringing ready, set, go, love, ahab. They're going to bring that other stuff. And guess what? It's going to be fighting. It ain't going to be no love. It's going to be a false tongue in your mind, in your house. And when that happens, that's why you can't entertain everything. People say, man, why I can't listen to you. People like, why, man? Because he said, I can't listen to that. People say, I can't listen to that. I understand everybody got their own little thing. I can't listen to it. It's filthy. It's going to make me defile. It's going to corrupt me. And people say, why? Because it's not good for you. Now your parents say, hey, eat your vegetables, eat the herbs, get the nasty herbs, the one that make you want to just eat your peas. I used to hate peas. Ooh, I used to hate them. I didn't like them to put that on the plate. That sounded funny though, but I didn't like it. She know that too. I hate that stuff. I like butter beans though, them little other ones. I hated the other ones. I like collards, but I hated turnips though. Some things, but it said right here, anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. So he don't say ready, set, love. Ready, set, go, love. You ain't supposed to be bringing this person in your house. I want my whole house full of love. And you bring somebody in there who anti-Mashiach, who want to bring something totally different. First job, blank and blank, blank, blank. What you think you're going to get? Oh yeah, it's going to be nice and peace and tranquility in my home. Full of love and compassion and the love and ready, set, go, love. No, it ain't going to be that in your household. It's going to be some evil stuff going on. You're going to upset the whole house. He said, you're going to upset your whole household. Especially your children, they ain't heard that before. Your wife or your companions that's in your household, they ain't never heard them. Some of the stuff, you're like, man, what in the world? Them seeds get in their head, it's gonna be over. It's gonna be over. It's the same thing with television, internet. It's all the same thing. We're gonna get out of here. Do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting, because he's gonna defile your virginity. And then when you give him any greeting, it's gonna be like, oh, you sign off on what I do? Yeah. You give proof for everything you would hate, just like Romans 1 say. And you know what's gonna happen after that. For whosoever greets him takes part in his wicked works. Right? So then now you become a part of it, right? So this is the book of, right? So we're gonna get out of here now. This is the book of, right? So this is the book of Mark. It's the book of Mark, chapter 4, and verse 1. Mark chapter 4, verse 1. Well, Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then Yahushua was led by the Ruach. They are led by the Ruach and not under the Torah, under the law. Ready, set, go, love, right? And get what it says. And get what? Into the wilderness to be tempted by Satan. Right? So Satan in the garden. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the son of Yahuwah Elohim, command these stones to become loaves of bread. Why? Because he's anti-Mashiach. So he's coming as an opponent to tempt him. That's what a tempter is. It's an opponent. So Satan's anti-Mashiach. And there are many Satans out here, right? Many anti-Mashiachs, right? And he said, if you are the son of Elohim, command these stones to become loaves of bread. Why? But he answered, it is written, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah, right? So he's an opponent. So when the anti-Mashiach comes, He gonna be saying things against, opposite the bar that's already been said. That's how you know. That's how you know. He gonna tempt you. Same thing when it came to what Shaul was saying. That Satan tempt you not. Why? What do you think Yahushua doing right here? He getting tempted. You know what? Then Satan took him to the Chdsh city and set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you are the son of Elohim, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will give his malaki concerning you. And on their hands, it says, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone, lest you hit something. You get what he said? And Yahushua said to him, again it is written, you shall not put Yahuwah your Elohim to the test. He said, we're not doing that either. Anti-Mashiach. That's all he was doing. Anti-Mashiach. And again, Satan took him to the very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their kabod. You know, the higher you go, the price tag go up. The higher you go, the price tag go up. Because you know how it goes. You have to say yesterday's price is not the same price, right? The higher you go, the price go up now. Right? Just like when your portfolio go up. He said the price done went up. And what he said. And all these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. He said, I'll show you all the kingdoms. And he showed him all the kingdoms of the Malkuth of the world and their glory. And he said to him, so how do you think you're able to see all the kingdoms and the glory of the whole world today? Through the internet. You weren't able to see that before. Back when you grew up, it wasn't none of that. You had to go look at a magazine or book, or you had to get on a plane and you go see it for yourself. That's the only way you're going to know. Now you can look on it, you can see all the kings of the world. You can see everything. Like, man, look at this world. He said, man, you know what? I'll give it all to you now. And he said to him, all these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. He said, if you will fall down and be at Satan's feet and be his servant. That's the very same thing he told Ka'ur, but Ka'ur, Satan's supposed to be at your feet. You know, Yeshua, he's supposed to be at your feet, but he said, no, bow down and worship me. And serve Satan, right? Serve the anti-Mashiach. Because that's amazingly how they get anti-Mashiach get way more people. Man, the anti-Mashiach get the whole, he get a whole bunch of people following him, right? And you know what he said? Then Yahushua said to him, be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship Yahuwah, your Elohim, and him only shall you serve. He said to him. That's it. Then Satan left him, and behold, a Malak came and ministering to him. Why? Because now I don't want the battle. He said, I don't want him. He got a full reward. You know how we talk about a full reward? He said, so how you gonna get one? You're gonna have to go, and you're gonna have to understand what an anti-Mashiach is, and when he comes, he or she or child comes to you, you know that it's an anti-Mashiach, and you know that you cannot give in to his attempts to deceive you, because there's a punishment for that, and that is something that you don't want to deal with, right? So this is the book of 1 Kings chapter 13. 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 1. Make this real simple. This 1 Kings, Aleph Malachim, 1 Kings 13 and 1. And behold, a man of Elohim came out of Yehuda by the word of Yahuwah to Bethel. Jeroboam was standing by the altar to make offerings. And the man cried against the altar by the word of Yahuwah, and said, O altar, thus says Yahuwah, behold, a son shall be born from the house of David, Yeshua by name, and he shall sacrifice on you the priests of the high places who make offering on you, and human bones shall be burned on you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign that Yahuwah has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be torn down, and the ashes that are on it shall be poured out, right? So all that stuff is going to happen. But what happened? And when the king heard the saying of the man of Elohim, he cried against the altar at Bethel. Jeroboam stretched out his hand from the altar, saying, "Seize him." Seize him, right? Why? Because he's an opponent. He's an opponent. He's an anti-Mashiach. He's an anti-Mashiach. Because he's an opponent. And guess what it says? And his hand, which he stretched out against him, dried up. And he said, he what? It dried up. His yard. And guess what? So that he could not draw it back to himself. And the altar also was torn down, and the ashes poured out from the altar according to the sign that the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuwah. Right, so he did all that. Anti-Mashiach. Anti-Mashiach, right? And get what it says. And the king said to the man of Elohim, "Entreat now the favor of Yahuwah your Elohim, and pray for me." Why? Because what do anti-Mashiachs do? They pretend. Anti-Mashiachs pretend to be some person that you may proclaim themselves to be something they're not. They are pretenders. He said, "Seize him," and his hand dried up. And he said, "Please pray for me, man. My hand done dried up. My yard done dried up." And guess what he said? And the king said to the man Elohim, "Entreat now the favor of Yahuwah your Elohim, and pray for me that my hand may be restored to me." He's like, "You an anti-Mashiach." And get what he said. And the man Elohim entreated Yahuwah, and the king's hand were restored to him and became as it was before. He said, "Look what happened." He's like, "Man, look what happened to your hand." And he said, "What happened?" Because when you an anti-Mashiach, and when Yahuwah come at you, guess what happened? He said, "You gonna know." And then guess what happens after that? Now this is Matthew chapter 12, verse 9. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 12, verse 9. And he went out from there and entered their congregation, their synagogue, their Aydah, and a man was there with a withered hand. He's just like that anti-Mashiach Jeroboam. "Seize him." Because he spoke against their altar and their offering. Because, they want their offering to be accepted. Jeroboam sinning with all the other gods, and he wanted his offering to be accepted, and he was upset because he spoke against the altar and said, "He's going to tear your altar down. He's going to throw your stuff down." He said, "Seize him." And they all ganged up on him, and then the altar still got thrown down in his hand with him. And a man was there with a withered hand. It sounds like, and he says, and they asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Shabbat?" So that they might accuse him. These are all what? Opposition, pretending human beings. Just like Jeroboam and them trying to offer something on the altar and knowing that they ain't worthy of the altar, and knowing who ain't accepting it, and they just pretending. Same thing with these people. They're anti-Mashiach. Because they're trying to set them up. It's all anti-Mashiach. And he said to them, "Which one of you who has a sheep, if he falls into a pit on the Shabbat, will not take hold of it and lift it out? Oh, how much more value is the man than the sheep?" So it is lawful to do good on the Shabbat. I'm comparing animals, and I'm showing you an animal. I'm showing you something natural that you see every day that you handle with animals and creatures of the earth. And I'm gonna show you that it is good to do good on the Shabbat. Because if your animal got hurt, you would do something. You wouldn't just let it just cry, right? Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He said, "Stretch out your hand." And the man stretched out his hand, and it was restored healthy like the other. Why? Because he was an anti-Mashiach. But see, the Yahushua ain't come. He's like, "Yeah, you're an anti-Mashiach. I know you are. But even though you are an anti-Mashiach and you sitting trying to accuse me, and I still will pray for you, and I will still heal you, even though you are not worthy of it." He said, "I already know you're an anti-Mashiach." And get what he says. But the Pharisees went out and conspired against him how to destroy him. There goes some more anti-Mashiachs. Remember, he said there are many anti-Mashiachs in the world. Just like you see today in 2025 AD. There are many of them. But guess what? And they still trying to destroy, even after he know they all anti-Mashiachs. Right? Going back to 1 Kings chapter 13. 1 Kings chapter 13. 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 6. Same thing. And the king said to the men of Elohim, entreat now the favor of Yahuwah your Elohim, and pray for me that my hand may be restored to me. Why? Because you are anti-Mashiach. Now you want somebody to help you. And the men of Elohim entreated Yahuwah, and the king's hand was restored to him and became as it was before. And the king said to the men of Elohim, come home with me. Right, so now he helped the man, gave him even this the same person that accused him, the same person said, seize him and take him down. Right? It's the same person. And now he got healed, and now he says, come to my house, right? And he said, come home with me and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. We just talked about a full reward. He said, make sure you watch yourself, that you won't lose out on all the work you did, and you won't gain your full reward. Notice he offered him a reward. Isn't that what he offers Yahushua? When he was getting tempted by Satan, he offered him a reward too. But you notice how all these beings be offering you something, a reward after you done did some feat for them. And the men of Elohim said to the king, if you give me half your house, I will not go in with you. He said, even if you do it. You get what he said? And I will not eat bread and drink water in this place. He said, I ain't doing it. Why? For so it was commanded me by the word of Yahuwah. Huh? That's the same thing when we just read in 1 Corinthians. When he told the children in 1 John, Aleph Yukanan, he told them, if they don't bring this type teaching, where he said go love and all these things that I told you, and you bid them, you greet them and you give them, you actually give them actually signing off on what they do. He said, you know what you just did? You partaker in their evil deeds. And you know what he did? If you give me half your house, I will not go over to you. I don't care how much you give me. I will not eat bread or drink water in this place. For it was commanded me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water nor return from the way you came. He's like, I ain't eating nothing you got. I ain't drinking nothing you got. I don't care if you give me all half your house. I'm still not coming to eat nothing with you. I don't care how much money you give me. See, when the word of Yahuwah already said, don't greet these people. If they don't bring this type teaching, don't receive it. If you receive it, then guess what? You are a partaker in their evil deeds. And guess what happens? You're going to lose your full reward. And you know what happens after that? You'll become an anti-Mashiach. You yourself. You're going to become an anti-Mashiach. You're going to be an opponent to Yahushua Mashiach. And guess what happened? It says right here, because there are many anti-Mashiachs in the world. For so was it commanded me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, you shall not either eat bread or drink water in this place, and return the way you came. So he went another way and did not return by the way that he came to Bethel. Now an old prophet, because remember he said there are many false prophets in the world, and many anti-Mashiachs in the world. You should see the men of Elohim just met one anti-Mashiach, and now you're going to meet another anti-Mashiach, a false prophet. And get what he says. Now an old false prophet lived in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all that the men of Elohim had done that day in Bethel. So now everybody talking. It was a certain prophet too. They also told to their father the words that he had spoken to the king. So they were eavesdropping on his cold conversation. And they told him. He told the prophet everything that he told the king. So how you hear about it? Somebody told him. So how people hear about anything that's going on in your life that they should know? Somebody told it to him. And their father said to them, which way did he go? And his son showed him the way that the men of Elohim who came from Yehuda had gone. And he said to his sons, saddle the donkey for me. So they saddled the donkey for him, and he mounted. And he went after the man of Elohim and found him sitting under an oak. Right? It's the same thing they do, you know, when a man, they say when a man or woman chase you down. Which way did he go? Tell me, have you seen her? Right, you know how they had that? Right, oh, that's a part of it. Which way did he go? Which way did she go? They're going to find you. They're going to hunt you behind down. And get what happened? And he said, saddle the donkey. So they saddled the donkey for him, and he mounted, and he went after the man of Elohim and found him sitting under an oak. And he said to him, are you not the man of Elohim who came from Yehuda? And he said, I am. There are many Mashiachs in the world. He said, I am. And then he said, I am. Then he said to him, come home with me and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with you or go in with you, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. He said, I don't care how many people come with me. He said, I ain't eating no bread, I ain't drinking no water in this place. You get what he said? For it was said to me by the word of Yahuwah. Notice he's speaking the same debar that was already spoken to him before, twice. You see how Yahushua was combating the anti-Mashiach twice. Because anybody that comes and tries to do the opposite, that's called an anti-Mashiach. Once you get an understanding and you understand it, guess what? It's an anti-Mashiach coming. It's always that way. Because anti-Mashiachs only come on the level you at. You know, the level you are. It ain't going to come. Like, you get the higher and higher levels, the price go up. And that's when you get the higher deception. You get what it says? By the word of Yahuwah, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water in this place. Right? Drink water, eat bread or drink water there, nor return the way you came. That's the same thing when you came out of Mizraim. We got our bread, we left Mizraim, and he said, you won't see these people ever again. He said, you'll never see them again. That's how you know you came out of Mizraim. He's like, I mean, you'll never see these people unless you want to go back. And you're going to see every person that you did wrong, every person that you did. He said, yeah, I'm going to show them to you too. He says, and he said to him, I may not be as you are, right? Right? After he told him that, he says, by the word of Yahuwah, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water there, nor return by the way that you came. And he said to him, I am a prophet, Nabi, as you are. Because he was a Nabi. He was a prophet. He wasn't lying about that. But here's what he said. And Malak spoke to me by the word of Yahuwah. Now he lied. How you say a lying prophet? Now he lying. Now he an anti-Mashiach. Now you a false prophet. They say you false. He said, nah, I ain't no false. Not prophetess, prophet. He said, and the Malachi spoke to me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, bring him back with you into your house that he may eat bread and drink water. Now he need to ding 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 ding. All your senses need to go out. It's an anti-Mashiach. It's an anti-Mashiach. There are many of them too. Because you know, some that pride, I'm a prophet. I'm a Nabi, I'm a Nabiyah, I'm a pastor, a teacher, I'm a shepherd, right? All these things they get in their mind, that little title they got, they're gonna be lying. As soon as they see somebody that's on their caliber, yeah, I need to get what you know, I need to know what you know, right? And they'll start lying. Especially after the word of Yahuwah start talking to you. Bring him back to your house, and it says, into your house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied to him. But he lied to him, right? But he lied to him, right? So this is the book of, this is moral to the story. How you say? There is a moral to this story. This is Galatians chapter 1, verse 6. Galatia chapter 1, verse 6. There is a moral to the story. Galatia chapter 1, verse 6. I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting him who called you into the Khan of Mashiach and are turning to a different truth. That's what happened to the man of Elohim. That's what happened. He said, but he lied to him. Because he a liar. He an anti-Mashiach. Not that there is another one, but that there are some who trouble you and want to distort the truth of Mashiach. Why? Because he already gave the information. He already knew. Don't eat no bread, no water. Don't go out the way you came, because these people gonna try to pursue me and try to get me to go in at the bar, even though you spoke it. And I don't need to be listening. They're gonna lie to do it. They're gonna do whatever they got to do to stop you. And you wanna obey the truth. You were running well, keep running, right? But even if we or a angel from Shamayim, a Malak, should preach to you a truth contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be accursed. You supposed to let that prophet and his sons and his family be cursed. Do not listen to him. He said, know what you're doing. He lied. They are liars. They're going to lie to you. As we have said before, so now I say again. How many times did that man in Elohim say that thing to that man? He said it twice. Yahuwah said, by the word of Yahuwah, don't eat no bread, don't drink no water. And he's probably kept repeating it over and over again. You know how you be strong. You know, when one verse you got. You got that one verse. Well, you tearing that one verse up. That one verse got you moving. That one verse, boy, that thing, he said, man, he already told me what I need to do, boy. That one verse, boy, he was tearing it up, right? But that Satan, he found a way to get in. You think that one verse gonna save you? But yeah, you should have had another verse, right? And he said right here, and we preach to you, let him be accursed. As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone is preaching to you a truth contrary to the one you received, let him be accursed. For am I now seeking the approval of man? Because that's what's getting ready to happen to this person. Because you be seeking the approval of your flesh. Am I seeking the approval of man or Elohim? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Mashiach. Right? This is the book of Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. Right? This is more to this, the whole thing. Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. It says, if you then have been raised in Mashiach, or the teachings of Yahushua Mashiach, because Yahushua's teachings is going to raise you up. Just like the sun comes right now, and the sun in the plane, he's going to raise you up. Just like he rose Yuchanan and Kaf, and they rose them up after they were hit on the ground when Mashai and all Yahoo was there, he came and picked them up. That's what the sun does. Seek those things which are above, where Yahushua Mashiach is seated at the right hand of Yahuwah. Right, because you're looking at the rays of the light. Just like the rays of the light of the sun and the planets seek and reach for the rays. Set your minds on things above and not on things in the earth. Why? Because you got a lot of things on the earth that are anti-Mashiach. They're anti-Mashiach. Ready, set, go, love. He said, ready, set, go, lie. That's what he did. Ready, set, go, lie. Right? That's what they're going to do. Because they want to defile your virginity. That's the only way they're going to do it. And they're going to pretend to do it. They're going to pretend to be sincere. Because that's all he was trying to do. He was pretending to be sincere. Because that's all they do. They pretend that they with Mashiach Yahushua. They pretend that they follow the teaching of Yahushua. They profit, but then they lie to get you in. To get you. To go against what Yahuwah already told you. And he says, set your minds on things that are above and not on things in the earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden in Mashiach, in Elohim. When Mashiach, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear in him in Kabod. Put to death, therefore, is earthly in you. These are all earthly behaviors, human things. Sexual immorality, impurity, passions, evil desires, covetousness, which is idolatry. On the account of these, the wrath of Yahuwah is coming. He coming. If these you two once walked when you were living in them, but now you must put them all away: anger, malice, wrath, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Why? You're supposed to be ready, set, go, love. Aha. That's what it's supposed to be. Go, love. That's the teaching. And then what it says: do not lie to one another. I don't care if you're a prophet. Not be y'all, not be, it don't matter, pastor, whatever people want to call themselves. He said you can't do that. Wife, husband, children. He said don't do it. Because if you do it, this is what's going to happen. Do not lie one to another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in the image, after the image and likeness of its creator. Right? So now, this man of Elohim don't listen to a lie. Now, how fast should he have rebuked this person with this lie? Right, so going back to 1 Kings chapter 13, verse 15. Actually, 1 Kings chapter 3, 13, 16. And he said, I may not return with you or go in with you, neither will I eat bread nor drink water with you in this place. For it was said to me by the word of Yahuwah, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water there, nor return by the way you came. And he said to him, I am also a Nabi, as you are. And a Melech spoke to me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, bring him back with you into your house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied to him. That's what he practiced. Because that's his own character, because he's anti-Mashiach. Now, you should say you are your father Satan, and the lust of your father you do. For he was a liar from the beginning, and he the father of it. He speaks of his own character. This is anti-Mashiach right here. And get what he said. So he went back with him and ate bread in his house and drank water. So then he's like, a Malak spoke to me. Angel, a Malak spoke to you? Yeah. It came down like a light and appeared, and I had a dream. And it came and told me that I'm a man of Elohim like you. And I hear your revelations and your dreams and things you said. And he told me to tell you, come back with me and eat some bread and water with me and discuss. We can have a discussion at the table. Me and you together. We can have this date, me and you together. We could be together, me and you. And get what he said. So he went back with him and ate bread in his house and drank water. And as they sat at the table, right, this is going to happen to you. If you really follow Yahushua Mashiach and you're Yahuwah's child, you know how people say, I'm Yahuwah's kid. And you do something wrong, you know how it be? You be doing something your parents told you not to do. And you be like, man, your parents going to show up. You be like, I'm going to sneak out the house and go out the back door. I'm going to go to the movies and your parents got a tracker on you, they show up. What you doing? Right, sure. Well, I'm going to go to this party anyway. Right, you know how people do? I'm going to do something opposite my parents told me to do. And guess what? They're going to show up. But this is how Yahuwah going to show up. And as they sat at the table, the word of Yahuwah came to the Nabi who had brought him back. And he cried to the man of Elohim who came from Yehuda, thus says Yahuwah, because you have disobeyed the word of Yahuwah. He said, man, how much word of him is spoken? He lied. Because you have disobeyed the word of Yahuwah and have not kept the command that Yahuwah, your Elohim, commanded you. Huh? No. That he commanded everybody. You know how people say? No, that he commanded you. That's the thing. That he commanded you. Because what did Yahuwah command you? Because sometimes these commandments, people be, the commandments, I kept the commandments. Sometimes Yahuwah command you personally something not to do. And then you go opposite. Yahuwah said, I commanded you not to do that. And other people don't know it. But then you start telling other people, yeah, you know, Yahuwah commanded me not to do that. Yahuwah commanded me not to do that. And guess what happens after that? Now, he was fighting against Satan, but then Satan got him. And guess what happens to you? Eventually, he'll get you. Hear what happened. And he cried out with him, man Elohim, who came from Yehuda. Thus says Yahuwah, because you have disobeyed the word of Yahuwah, and have not kept the commandment that Yahuwah your Elohim commanded you, you have come back, but you have come back and have eaten bread and drunk water in the place which you have. He said to you, watch, you could be a prophet and be a liar at the same time. And then you can speak truth again, be like, see, and then you act like you was so truthful the first time. Then you come back and you condemn the person, knowing you tricked the person, you lied to the person, and then you're gonna try to speak truth to him, and then you're gonna try to condemn him. See, that's the traps of Satan. That's how high level this stuff goes. They give you, they'll say a nabi, which is true. Then they'll say a lie to get you to come back with them, and then they'll speak the truth to you and they condemn you. They'll do that stuff in this world. They do it on Instagram, YouTube. They do it everywhere. But have come back and have eaten the bread and drunk water in this place of which he said to you, eat no bread and drink no water, your body shall now come to the tomb of your fathers. See, that's the problem. That's the trap. So that's why Shaul was telling everybody, so this is how crafty Satan is. This is how he'll get you. Man, woman, child. This is how he'll get you. This is how he'll take your virginity. This is how he'll get you to fornicate, commit adultery, sexual immorality. This is how he get you in rivalries, dissension, strife, complaining, pride, arrogance. This is how he get you in it. This is how they entangle you in other people's affairs and try to bring you in and get you on the phone, get you on the thing, and try to put you in other people's stuff. We can talk together and we can talk about it. I said, you don't want to talk about nothing. They try to entangle you with it. Then they'll bring the word to try to destroy your life. That's what they'll do. They're all crafty because they know they're trying to defile you like them. Because they defile. And they try to keep you defiled. They want to dump their sin on you. That's what happened just right here. And guess what Yahuwah did? Even though he was a Nabi, he lied. And then, even though he got the word of Yahuwah, but the not prophet lied. So who Yahuwah was thinking about? I ain't thinking about the prophet that lied, but the prophet lied. He's been practicing lies his whole life. I'm thinking about you. I told you not to do it. So therefore, I send judgment by the same prophet I made speak a lie. The same prophet going to send you to your fathers. After he had eaten bread and drunk, he settled his done. He still kept eating. After you heard your condemnation, he said, you're going to sleep with your father. And he a prophet too, so you already know it's going to come to pass. So you must have thought, man, you a false prophet. Even though you lied to me, that prophet was a prophet before he was a false prophet. And then the prophet started speaking the truth. And he was a prophet before, and he spoke the death of your life, on your life. And he would say what? And after he had eaten bread and drunk, and he saddled the donkey for the prophet, whom he had brought back. And as he went away, a lion met him on the road and killed him that same day. Because you thought, oh, he was a liar. Oh, you were a false prophet. But he was a prophet, though. But he's still a liar, though. He still got little lies in his heart. But at the same time, he was like, I spoke to you to the bar. I tell you a commandment. And this person that you think he was giving you a good and evil at the same time. Right, so that word for lied, 1 Kings, we're going to read it. 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse, because these are pretenders. This is what pretending does. You don't want to get entangled with a pretender, because a pretender gets you devoured by Satan. Because Satan's seeking like a roaring lion, whom he going to devour. A pretender will get you entrapped with Satan and get you swallowed up by the devil, Satan. That word for lied in 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 18. So that word for lied in 1 Kings chapter 13 in verse 18, that word for lied is kakash. Kakash. Right? That word is kakash. You see, why would they have a word that say lie, but they call it kakash? Because it sounds like somebody we know. Oh, you mean nakash? But it has kakash. Why would they have a Why would they have a kaf at the beginning of Chdsh? And it says right here, to what? Untrue. To be untrue. That's what Chdsh means. To lie. To disown. To disappoint. To deceive. To deceive you. He said, there are many deceivers. He said, he's an anti-Mashiach. He is the deceiver. He's an anti-Mashiach. He is an opponent. He said, you already know what Yahushua said. We already know what Yahushua told us to do. We done repeated it so many times. What do you think the anti-Mashiach will come to? Yeah, you know. Do opposite. And get what it says. Deceive, dissemble, deal falsely. He gonna lie. Liars. Right? So you know kaf is what? The hand. Hollow hand. The hand, because you know that works devouring. Right? That's what Chdsh means. Because kaf is what? Ascending and descending. It also means what? Work, labor. That's what kaf means. Kaf means hand. Work, labor. Shun means devour. Swallow up. What happened to the man Elohim? Chdsh, the lion came and killed him. He devoured him. Satan, like a roaring lion, seeking somebody to devour. And he jumped inside of that prophet and made him a false Mashiach, a false prophet, a false teacher. And he literally condemned you to death. And he was still a prophet though. So people be thinking like, oh yeah, you're a prophet, you're a false prophet, but he can still get something to happen to you. He a tool for Satan. He got children too, kids. He had a family. That don't mean anything. People make it seem like, oh, he got a family and kids. He must be honest. That don't mean nothing either. Wrong turn. You ever seen the movie Wrong Turn? It don't matter. Wrong house, get out. You know how I say, get out. It don't matter. You got a family, kids. It don't matter. That stuff is true. Right. So going to Bereshit chapter. Genesis chapter 3 verse 1. Genesis chapter 3 verse 1. Genesis chapter 3 verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field that Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, yay, hey man, hey woman, what you doing? He said, has Elohim Yahuwah said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? You know how it is. The word of Yahuwah already was there. So why would I do opposite? And he said to the woman, Elohim actually say you should not eat from every tree of the garden? And the woman said, said to the serpent, we may eat of every tree of the fruit trees of the garden. But Elohim said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it. You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. What happened to the man Elohim? He died. He ate from it. He ate bread and he ate the water and he died. Same pattern. There are many anti-Mashiachs in the world. There are many Nakashas in the world, or Chdsh. There are many false Mashiachs in the world. And it says, and Elohim said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, I'm a man of Elohim too. I'm a prophet too. I got kids. I got family. Look at that. Look at my house. I got all this stuff look at all this stuff I got. I can't be a liar. Malak spoke to me. Matter of fact, the Malak spoke to me and told you to bring him into your house and eat bread and water. I'm a prophet just like you. But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you. For Elohim knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Isn't that what the man Elohim found out? He found out some good and evil too. That man spoke evil, he lied, and then he spoke some good and he told him the truth again. And he ended up dying. He had some good and evil. I'm a prophet, good. But I had a Malak spoke to me, liar. Then he ate the bread. Didn't I tell you not to eat from the tree of the garden? And then try to condemn you. But then that prophet will get power from Yahuwah just to punish you and you get judgment just for transgressing. Didn't I tell you not to eat no bread and come in here? And that's what happens. That's how fast it happens, right? So they use that word for serpent is nakash, right? It's spelled with a noon. Because noon means life. Noon kaf shin. The life of what? The work and labor of life that devours. Remember we talked about losing your full reward? He said, make sure you don't lose what we work for. Because there is a person whose whole life and work and labor is to devour you. That's what Nakash is. That's their whole goal, is to devour and to consume you and destroy you. Just what Kakash and Nakash are. Their whole life is that. That's the only thing they're made to do. And your work and labor is to what? Where did it say go? Love. Love. That's the one you heard from the beginning. Aha. That's what he wrote to the woman. And all of you can know. Lady, woman. I'm glad to see some of your children walking in the truth. But these are all the parts of what? This world, right? And why do we do all that? Because it's for a reason. Right, we almost finished. Right, so this is the book of... Why? Because they're pretending. Right, this is the Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim. Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim, page 106. XLVI, this is Shimon's rage. Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim, page 106. It's chapter XLVI, Shimon's rage. But when Simon heard this, he assailed Kepha, and cursed and reproached, saying, O most immoral and most deceitful men, to whom fortune, not truth, have given the victory. But I sought repentance not for defect of knowledge, but in order that you, thinking that by repentance I should become your Talmud, your disciple, might entrust to me all the secrets of your profession. That's the only... He said what? That he might entrust him all the secrets of your profession. Because it's people, some people's whole life is built on just devouring, consuming, and destroying you. And so at length, knowing them all, I might confute you. I might what? Be an opponent to you. Because he was anti-Mashiach. You know what he says? But as you cunningly understood for what reason I had pretended to teshuv, I pretended to repent and acquiesce, as if you did not understand my strategy, that you might first expose me in the presence of the people as unskillful. Then foreseeing that being thus exposed to the people, I must of necessity be indignant and confess that I was not truly penitent or repentant. You anticipated me. That's what they don't like. This is what Satan don't like. When you can't anticipate what's getting ready to happen before it happens. Because when you can do this, then he can't devour you and trick you. That's why you gotta go through every scenario in your mind before everything happens, right? And it says right here, that you might say that I should after my teshuva or teshuv again return to my infidelity, that you might seem to have conquered on all sides, both if I continued in my teshuv, that I had professed, and if I did not continue, and so you should be believed to be wise, because you had foreseen these things, while I should seem to be deceived, because I did not foresee your trick. Guess what it says? But you, foreseeing mine, have used subtlety and circumvented me, But as I said, your victory is the result of fortune, not of truth. Yet I know why I did not foresee this, because he a prophet too. Now he say, I'm a man of Elohim too. I'm a prophet too, like you. Because I stood by you. Because he did what? Because I stood by you and spoke with you in my goodness and bore patiently with you. But now I will show you the power of my divinity, so that you will quickly fall down and worship me. It sound like who? That sound like Satan. He said, you're going to worship me. And that's what they do. Remember, when you start to understand this Torah, understand the book, you're going to get many Nakashas and many false Mashiachs to come at you, both male and female. And the whole time they doing it, they're going to pretend, they're going to act like they repenting, and the only thing they're doing is to get you to worship them and fall down at their feet. And guess what happened? It's skipping now. Going to the next chapter, XLVII. And I am the first power, right? Who is always without beginning, but having entered the womb of Rakal, I was born of her as a man, that I might be visible to men. And I have flown through the air. And what does he do? I have been mixed with fire and been made one body with it. I have made statues to move. I have animated lifeless things. Right? These are all false Mashiachs. He said, you ain't never seen them like this before. I have made stones bread. But he noticed what he ain't doing. He ain't doing what Yahusha did. Man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. He said, I made stone bread. I have flown from mountain to mountain. Man, I done flown from mountain to mountain, man. What you talking about? I done flew through the sky. Cuff? What you talking about, Cuff? All you got in them words. Look what I done did. That stuff don't mean I'm a man of Elohim too. I'm a prophet too. Man, I done walked on water. I done healed the sick. I done raised the dead. Matter of fact, I done turned stones to bread. I have moved from place to place, upheld by Malachim's hands. Man, I done did everything Yahusha didn't do. You know what they say? I'm better than Yahusha. And have alighted on the earth. Not only have I done these things, but now I am able to do them, that by facts I may prove to all. He's like, man, I can do all that. What you can do? And get what he said? That I am the son of Elohim. And people, when you say you want to play out here, why do you think Shaul would tell me all that stuff? Shaul is not, like everybody think, like you haven't encountered nothing yet. And get what he said? Enduring to eternity, that I can make those who believe on me endure like manner forever, just like you can. He always says, but your words are all vain. He's like, look at your word. Your word, that's all you got, them words. But I can do all these powers. I got these powers, right? Or can you perform any real work such as I have not mentioned? Then he said, it's all this competition. But you can't do what I do. Right here, anti-Mashiach. Here, an opponent. And guess what happened? And as he also, who sent you is a magician. And he talking about Yahushua Mashiach. He's saying, you a magic spell. You say, look at me. You're a magician. You're a wizard. You're a sorcerer. Who yet could not deliver himself from the suffering of the stake. He couldn't even get him off the cross, himself off the cross. He couldn't even get him off the stake. But he didn't know he had to fulfill the Torah. He said, think now I come to destroy the Torah of the law. I can't fulfill it. That's why he didn't know it. But he said, I got all these powers though. He had to stay up there. Right, this is the last thing. To this speech, Shimon Kapha answered, do not meddle with the things that belong to others, for that you are a magician, and you have confessed and made manifest by the very deeds that you have done. But our master, who is the son of Yahuwah and of man, is manifestly good. He said, I'm good. For Yahuwah is good. You know, we just read that in Psalms 100. And that he is truly the son of Yahuwah, as he been told. and will be told to those to whom it is fitting. But if you will not confess that you are a magician, let us go with all this multitude to your house, and then it will be evident who is a magician. While Kepha was speaking thus, the Shimon began to assail him with blasphemies and curses, that he might make a riot. That's the only reason they do it. Why do you think he's trying to create all this stuff? Why do you think these shny try to do this stuff? Why do you think these people try to do this stuff? Especially when you start talking about Yahushua Mashiach. They're going to do everything they can. I got all these powers. I can do all this stuff. I can look at all these feats I accomplished. Look at me. Look at my photos. Look at my picture. Look at who I am, right? I got all these powers. And they start boasting. They start blaspheming and curses at your life, and making a riot and excite all so that he could not be refuted, and that Kepha, withdrawing on the account of his blasphemy, might seem to be overcome. That's the reason they do it. They want you to quit. But he stood fast and began to charge him vehemently, right? All that's a part of it. All that's a part of it, right? All right, this is the book of Yashar. This is the book of Yashar. This is the book of Yashar, chapter 18. Book of Yashar, chapter 18, in verse 18. 18:18. So here we go. It says, and there was a man from the country of Elam who was leisurely going on the road. This is on the road, man. That's all I'm doing. He said, I was going on the road, right? And he said, seated upon his own donkey, which carried a fine mantle of diverse colors, and the mantle was bound with a cord upon the donkey. And the man was on his journey passing through the street of Sodom, when the sun set in the evening, right? There are many anti-Mashiachs in the world, many anti-Mashiachs. And get what it says. And he remained there in order to abide during the night. That's all he wanted to do. The sun was setting. Night watch is coming, but no one would let him into his house. And at the time, there was in Sodom a wicked and mischievous man. He was what? What do you think that prophet was that men Elohim came across? He was a wicked and mischievous man. He evil, right? And get what happened? One skillful to do evil, and his name was Aydah. He's skillful. What do you think? Why do you think Yahuwah told that man Elohim, don't eat no bread and don't eat no food in this place? These people wicked. Of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the traveler in the street of the city. And he came to him and said, whence comest thou, and whither dost thou go? Because you know what happened? He a good pretender. He a good pretender. And the man said to him, I am traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I belong. And as I passed, the sun set, and no one would suffer me to enter his house, though I had bread and water. Though I had bread and water, and also straw and provisions for my donkey, and I am short of nothing. He's like, I got bread and water. I don't need to eat no food in your house. You know, he said, I unpacked my lunch. He said, man, eat our food. He's like, man, I'm good. I packed my food. You ain't got to worry about nothing. I just need a place to lay my head, right? And get what he said. And his dad answered and said to him, all that thou want shall be supplied by me. But in the street thou shalt not abide all night. He's like, I'll let you say your food, right? And his dad brought him into his house, and he took off the mantle from the donkey with the cord and brought him to his house. And he gave the donkey straw and provisions, and whilst the traveler ate and drank in his dad's house, he abode that night. So he stayed that whole night. It says, and in the morning the traveler rose up early to continue his journey. When his dad saw him, he said, wait, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and then go. And the man did so. Isn't that what the man Elohim did? He ate, and then the man told him, you're going to die, and he ate again, right? He just kept eating, right? And guess what happened? When his dad said to him, wait, comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and then go. And the man did so. And he remained with him, and they both ate and drank together during the day. And when the man rose up to go, it says, when the man rose up to go, he did 2 days. And his dad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. Thou hadst better remain all night, that thy heart may be comforted. And he pressed him so that he tarried there all night. Notice when things start repeating itself over and over and over again. He said, I only meant to stay here 1 night, you end up staying 3 nights. With a man in Sodom and Gomorrah, when things start repeating itself over and over again, he said, that's when you gotta start, your bells need to go off, and you need to start thinking about a demon, right? A spirit. Something that is not right, right? And you say right here, it says, in the morning, the traveler rose early in the morning and continued his journey. When his dad saw him, he said, wait, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, in verse 24, and then go. And the man Elohim did so. And he remained with him, and they both ate and drank together during the day. When the man rose up to go, then his dad said to him, verse 25, behold, now the day is declining. Thou hadst better remain all night, that thy heart may be comforted. And he pressed him so, and he tarried there all night. And on the 2nd day he rose up earlier to go away. When the dad pressed him, saying, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and then go. And he remained and ate with him also the 2nd day. And then the man he rose up to continue his journey. Then the dad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me and to comfort thine heart. And in the morning rise up early and go thy way. Notice how all these things keep repeating itself. Verse 27, and the man would not remain, but rose and saddled his donkey. And while he was saddling his donkey, the wife of his dad said to her husband, behold, this man has remained with us for 2 days in eating and drinking, and he has given us nothing. And now shall he go away from us without giving anything? And his dad said to her, be silent. He's like, he done stayed here, we done gave him all his food. He had his own food, and he ain't gonna give us nothing. He ain't gonna pay us. Now remember, he was already evil. He was skillful to do evil. Matter of fact, he was a mischievous man. He was very crafty. And the man saddled his donkey to go. And he asked his dad to give him the cord and mantle to tie it upon the donkey. And dad said to him, what sayest thou? And he said to him, that thou, my master, shalt give me the cord and the mantle made with divers colors, which thou didst conceal with thee in thy house to take care of it. And Hadad answered the man, saying, this is the interpretation of thy dream. Right? So he went in, and he inquiring of his diverse colors, his little thing he had, and he concealed it in the house to take care of it. And Hadad answered the man, verse 30, saying, this is the interpretation of thy dream. The cord which thou didst see means that thy life will be lengthened out like a cord. And having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors means that thou shalt have a vineyard in which thou wilt plant trees of all fruits. So what this evil man did, that's mischievous man that's good at doing evil, he saw something that the man owned. He looked at it, and then he gave a false vision and a false dream and some advice and something on his life that the man never requested for him to have. And by doing so, he saw something that he owned or he had possessed, and he used that as a way to find a way in to gain advantage of him. This is why it's not good to let people see what you got. Right? Just like any person that divines or looks at a photo of you, looks at something you own, it may be a child, a relationship, anything you may desire or you have, they'll use that as a way to divine in your life. And that's what he just did here. He divining to get in his life. And he said to him, what sayest thou? Right? Right. So he gave interpretation of the dream, right? Interpretation of his clothes that he had. And the traveler answered, saying, not so, my master, for I was awake when I gave thee the cord.
right? So he was like, I was awake when I gave you the cord. And also a mantle woven with different colors, which thou didst take off the donkey and put them by for me. And Hadad answered and said, surely I have told thee the interpretation of thy dream, and it is a good dream, for this is the interpretation thereof. He like, that ain't what I did. Right? So what did he do? He saw something that he owned, and then what did he do? Going to verse 29, going back. And then his dad said to him, what sayest thou? Right? Because his wife said, you ain't going to give us nothing? Going to verse 28. And the man saddled his donkey to go, and he asked his dad to give him the cord and the mantle to tie it upon the donkey. And Hadad said to him, what sayest thou? And he said to him, thou, my master, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with divers colors, which thou didst conceal with thee in thy house to take care of it. He's like, look at here. He said, here's the cord and the mantle, but then he came up with some kind of apparition, interpretation, to try to find a way in, right? He's going to verse 32. Now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, verse 32. 4 pieces of silver, which is in my charge for interpreting dreams, and of thee only I require 3 pieces of silver. Why? Because he did it that quick. Even though he already told the man, he said, no, this is where the colors, I told you to put it on the donkey. I told you to give it to me. He said, this is an interpretation of your vision, because you ain't tell me that. And this is, I just literally just gave you an interpretation of the dream you had, because you ain't never gave me nothing to do anything. So I'm a liar, and guess what? Now I'm gonna give you an interpretation of the vision, the dream that you, the actual event that you thought happened. This is an interpretation of your dream, because you ain't really see that, what you just actually just happened. You just actually just said something out of your mouth, but that was like a vision of the dream that you needed to interpret it. Because I never saw any of the thing you owned. Right? Now he lied, and then now he requested money for it. An interpretation of a dream is something that he never even asked for. I never asked you for that. It says, now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is in my charge for interpreting dreams, and of thee only I require 3 pieces of silver. Now he asked him for money, because his wife was complaining. And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly, and he brought Hadad to Sirach, the judge of Sodom. And the man laid his cause before Sirach, the judge. Right now, he done gave him a false vision, false accusation, false report, and then he gave a false vision, and then he said, give me money for it, and he didn't even ask for it, and now he's taking him to court. All at the same time. And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly. And he brought Hadad to Sirach, the judge of Sodom, and the man laid his cause before Sirach, the judge, and Hadad replied, saying, it is not so. It's you a liar. Now he done entangle you in more lies, because he's real crafty. But thus the matter stands. And the judge said to the traveler, this man Hadad telleth thee truth, even though he a liar. Because he got a lie mixed with the truth. He gave him he gave an interpretation of a dream he never asked for. He gave him advice he never asked for. Then he lied about the garment he had. And then he said, give me some silver for my interpretation of your false little thing you told me, talking about I gave you something that you never did. And let me give you an interpretation of that. And then he got him in the court. And it said, then Hadad this man Hadad tell you the truth, for he is famed in the cities for accurate interpretation of dreams. I'm a prophet too. I'm a Nabiyah too. I give some great interpretations of dreams. And matter of fact, he gave an interpretation of a dream that never happened. And matter of fact, the man never even asked for it. And then he asked for money afterwards. You ain't got no money to give me? I helped you get rich. I'm trying to help you and you help me, right? I'm trying to help you and you help me. And guess what happens? Verse 35. And the man cried at the word of the judge, the traveler. And he said, not so, my master, for it was in the day that I gave him the cord and the mantle which was upon the donkey, in order to put them by in his house, and they both disputed before the judge. Right, because the man who crafted to do evil was crafty to bring him into a situation where now he in front of a judge arguing over something that never happened, and he got his garment that he said he never gave him, and then he said, this is the interpretation of you giving me your garment that you thought you gave me. Then man said, the judge said, he telling you the truth. And he's very famed among all the people. He would never do something like this, right? And then now the traveler getting upset. It says, and they both dispute before the judge, and the one saying, thus the matter was, and the other declaring otherwise. And his dad said to the man, give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretation of the dreams, and I will not make any allowance. I will not make any allowance, and give me an expense for the 4 meals that thou didst eat in my house. And now he done tricked him out. Now he telling him, give him the money for the food he gave him. And the man, he already said, I got my own food for animals. I got my own food for them, all this stuff. But the man was tricking him to stay there more than 3 days, and he was only going to stay there the night. And then now he got him all entangled in some more stuff. Right? And he said, give me, and now he wanted him to pay for the food, even though he gave it to him, supposedly out of the kindness of his heart. In verse 37, and the man said to his dad, truly I will pay thee for what I ate in thy house. It sounds like somebody I know. He said, I'm going to pay you for what I ate in your house. He said, I'll pay you for that in your house. Only give me the cord and the mantle which thou didst conceal in thy house. He said, give me back my stuff. Because if I pay you for the meals and you give me back my stuff, then that make you a liar. And it'll reveal to you that you lied about the interpretation of the dream. I ain't got to pay you for that. And I'll be clear, and I won't be a partaker in your evil deeds. Because if he pays him for that false interpretation, then he'll be a partaker in his evil deeds. And then he gonna take his mantle. So he like, give me my mantle back, and I'll pay you for the food, so I won't be partaker in your evil deeds. But guess what happens? That's how you gotta be. If you don't do this, you're gonna be partaker in his evil deeds. You're gonna end up paying a soothsayer and a diviner. So which one you think is better? Be tricked by a prophet and not be y'all, and then you pay for a diviner to get out of a court case? Or you think, maybe I don't need to be paying him any money. He tricked me. Right? And it says, and the man said to his dad, truly I will pay thee for what I ate in your house. Only give me the cord and the mantle which thou didst conceal in thy house. And his dad replied before the judge. And he said to the man, did I not tell thee the interpretation of thy dream? The cord means that thy days shall be prolonged like a cord, and the mantle, that thou wilt have a vineyard in which thou wilt plant all kinds of fruit trees. He's like, why don't you just do that? It says, he says, this is the proper interpretation of thy dream. Now give me the 4 pieces of silver that I require as a compensation, for I will make thee no allowance. And get what it said. And the man cried at the words of his dad, and they both quarreled before the judge. They all quarreling. And guess what happened? And the judge gave orders to his servants, who drove them rashly from his house. He's like, get out. Y'all ain't staying here no more. And guess what happened? And they went away quarreling from the judge. When the people of Sodom heard them, and they gathered about them, and they exclaimed against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city. And then they drove him from the city. And the man continued his journey upon his donkey with bitterness of what? With bitterness of soul. You know why he in bitterness of soul? Because he entered a place, he was traveling, and he came in with an honest intent, and he got entangled with a mischievous and evil intent man. And he ended up getting involved, and he gave him something, and he stole it. And then he used that stolen thing that he used to entangle him in a quarrel, in a fight. He brought him for the judge, and he gave him a false dream that he never asked for. I never asked you for any advice. I never asked you for anything. And then he brings it to the judge and try to get him to what? Pay him for his dreams. in his interpretation. And then he didn't get it. Then they quarreled, and they drove him to the city, and then he ended up losing everything he had because of these evil people in this city. And then what did he do? And the man continued his journey upon his donkey. He still went on his journey with bitterness of soul. Why he in bitterness of soul? Because of the way the people treated him. Because of what they did to him and what they took from him. And now he's in bitterness of soul. And it says lamenting and weeping. Now he's crying and weeping the whole time he left, after he's gone. And he came into the city in the place, and he ate bread in that city, and he drank in that city. And guess what happened? He ended up getting entangled with a quarrel, a fight, judges, and he ended up losing more things. He came in with his own provisions and everything, and then he left with nothing. Majority, he lost, he kind of lost, and he left in bitterness of soul, and weeping and mourning. And while he was going along, he wept at what had happened to him in the corrupt city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is what happens to people. This is why he tells us, that's why Shaul was so busy trying to tell people, though we, or Malachi, or anybody bring you any other doctrine other than we taught you, let him be accursed. Why? Because if you eat their bread and drink their water, you eat their bread and drink their water, this is going to happen to you, right? So this is the book of Romans chapter 3. Romans chapter 3, we almost finished. Romans chapter 3 verse 9. It says, what then? Romans chapter 3 verse 9. What then? Are we Yahudim any better off? Not at all, for we have already charged that all, both Yahudim and Greeks, are all under sin, as it is written. None is righteous, no, and not one. No one understands, no one seeks out for Elohim. I have turned aside, together, all have turned aside, they have both become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. Isn't that what we just saw? Man came in the city, man, deceiving with his tongue. Then he said, pay for the food. Matter of fact, I'll pay for the food. Just give me back my stuff. And he was trying to make him a partaker in his evil deed. He did it over and over and over again. Pay me. Pay me for my interpretation of the dream. Pay me for my divination. Pay me for my false interpretation, that I may get the fame, my fame may continue in the city. And then they drove him from the city. He left in bitterness of soul. And guess what happened? All have turned aside. Together they have become worthless. No one is good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. And then what happened? To the man of Elohim, then what happened to Kuh in the garden? And then what happened to this man? They use their tongues to deceive people. They're anti-Mashiach. They are anti-Mashiach. That's why. They're anti-Mashiachs. The venom of asp is under their lips. They are snakes. They are venomous snakes. They are venomous asps, adder face. Their mouths is full of cursing and bitterness. Why do you think he left in bitterness? Weeping and lamenting. What happened in that wicked city of Sodom and Gomorrah? And guess what happened? Their feet are swift to shed blood, and their paths are ruin and misery. Why do you think he created a man ruin and misery? Why do you think the man of Elohim died? That's what anti-Mashiachs do. Why do you think they bring you to nothing? They use false interpretation and false advice, and you didn't even ask for it. And then they say, pay me for it. Give me some admiration. Fall down and worship me. You know what the man did? He said, you're going to fall down and worship me today. After this over with. It says, and the way of peace they have not known. Why do you think he got entangled in the quarrel and fight? There is no fear of Elohim in their eyes, in their iron. Their lamps have gone out. It says, now we know that whatsoever the law speaks, the Torah speaks, it speaks to those who are under the law, so that every mouth may be stopped, and the whole world may be held accountable to Elohim. That's why they created all this stuff. Why do you think Yahuwah allowed them to create everything they got? Because he wants everybody accountable for everything they do. Because everything that people have done, he said, I'm going to get every last one. You get what it says? For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the works, through Torah, comes the knowledge of sin. But now the righteousness of Elohim has been manifest apart from the law. Although the law and the Nabim bear witness of it, the righteousness of Elohim through Amunah and Yahushua Mashiach for all who believe. That's what happened. Right, this is the book of Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 28. Actually, Ephesians chapter 4 verse 25. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 25. Therefore, having put away falsehood. Put away falsehood? Yeah. You see all the falsehood we read about? Let each one of you speak truth with his neighbor. That's what they were doing, and the man lied. He ain't supposed to lie to each other. And they ended up getting the person killed. For we are members one of another. Be angry and do not sin. For why? Do not let the sun go down on your anger. There's a reason why he said that. Why would he say don't let the sun go down on your anger? Right? And it says right here, there's a reason. And give no opportunity for Satan. That's why. When he left Sodom and Gomorrah, he was weeping and lamenting. He was full of bitterness. And Satan was all in his head. Because when you interact with people who are evil and mischievous, you get entangled with them, and you eat their bread and drink their water, and you eat in their house, and you stay in their house, eventually, you're going to get entangled with their quarreling and fighting, and then you're going to find yourself defiled. And then you're going to be partakers in an evil deed. That's what the man came to traveler, he was like, I'm not going to be partaker in your evil deed. I ain't paying you nothing. Matter of fact, I don't care if I take a loss. At least I ain't partaker in your evil deed. I'm going to be bitterness in my heart. I'm going to be weeping and crying. But as long as I ain't partaking in your evil deed, I ain't paying for your divination. I ain't paying for your stuff. I don't care. I'll take the loss. Matter of fact, I'll pay you for the food I ate, but I ain't finna be paying you for that false divination you did and all that other stuff, the interpretation of the dreams and what I need to do. He's like, man, forget that. And get what he said. We almost finished. Therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of us speak truth to his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in your anger, and give no opportunity for Satan. Let the thief no longer steal. You know what happens to him? He's stealing. Again, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have somewhat to share with anyone in need. That man right there, we just read about, wasn't doing nothing with no honest work and no honest hand. And guess what he was doing? And he was giving people in need, but he wasn't really doing it for the real truth. He was only doing it to deceive people, to get people to give him some fault. He's like, I'm gonna give you a false interpretation. I'm famed throughout the whole land. He deceived that man. Then he got him in a court case, a battle, and then he used that as a way to drive bitterness and weeping and causing misery into his life. But rather let him labor doing honest work with his own hands, that he may have somewhat to share with those who are in need. Let no corrupt talk come from your mouths, but only such as is good to the building up, as it fits the occasion, that it may give con to those who hear. And do not grieve the Qahalath Ruach. You see what happened to this man? He was a bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping. What do you think he just did? By whom you are sealed to the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and some of this bitterness that people have is from other people, just the way man, look how they did the person, the traveler. Man, I'm just a pilgrim. I'm just traveling through here. Like Abraham said, I'm just pure. We just traveling through. We ain't not even here. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you with all malice. He got infected. He got infected by the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. And then when you say, come out from the world and be ye separate, he say, then you come to people who say they believe, and guess what? They do the same thing people do in the world. And guess what you get? You get infected too. Then you got to deal with it. You got to put it all away. And it's a struggle, right? Be kind one to another. Tender-hearted. Forgiving one another. As Elohim in Mashiach has forgiven you. And he said, why he did all of that? He said, why did he do all that? Right, so this is the Hebrews chapter 12, verse 12. Let me go into another book and we're done. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore, lift up your drooping hands and strengthen your weak knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be put out of joint, but rather be healed. Strive for peace with everyone. I'm trying to strive for peace, shalom, right? With everybody. For Qhdsh, without which no one will see Yahuwah. See to it that no one fails to obtain the Khan, and no root of bitterness spring up and cause trouble. Why? Why is the root bitter? When the things spring up, root bitter? In the summertime. Why? Because you did something to people a long, long time ago, and he said, man, he left that city in bitterness of soul, and he was weeping. He got tears. And there's a reason why he said that. There's a reason why he said that. There's a reason why he said it. He said, let all bitterness and wrath, see that no one fails to enter. Why? You know what happens? There's a reason why he said that. Right, so this is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 56. Psalm 56. Psalm 56 and 1. Be gracious to me, O Elohim, for a man tramples on me. All day long the attacker oppresses me. We just read that in Sodom and Gomorrah. My enemies trample me all day long, and for many attack me proudly. Isn't that what he did to the man after he did that to him? When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, in Elohim, who word I praise. In Yahuwah Elohim I trust. I should not be afraid what flesh can do to me. You know, people that walk after the flesh. All day long they injure my cause. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They stir up strife, they lurk, and they watch my steps, and as they waited for my life. For their crime will they escape. In wrath, cast down the peoples. O Elohim, you have kept count of my tossing. Put my tears in your bucket. We just read that about a man with bitterness of soul and lamenting and weeping. He was a traveler. He said, you put my tears in your bucket. And are they not written in your book? People be thinking like, Yahuwah be jotting all this stuff down. He said, you did that to that person like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20. Yahuwah be writing this stuff down. People be like, nah, he ain't writing that stuff down. Yes, he is. Are they not written in your book? Then my enemies will turn back in the day when I call. Right, so you look at all that, but then why we go there? This is another thing, right? Right, so this is So this is the book of So this is the book of Testament of Isaac, Pseudepigrapha, Testament of Isaac, Testament of the three patriarchs. Testament of Isaac. Testament of Isaac. Testament of Yitzhak, chapter 4, Pseudepigrapha, volume 1. Testament of Yitzhak, chapter 4, Pseudepigrapha, volume 1, and verse 39. Chapter 4, Testament of Isaac, chapter 4, verse 39. And it says, verse 39. So if you have approached and have done this before your ascent to the altar, isn't it what Jeroboam did? Then offer your sacrifices, right? All right, so let's go up. Go to verse 32. I am like all who are in your image. I have turned to do what is for. I have not. It says I have turned to doing of what is forbidden to me. I have come to you, and I am your servant, and the sinful son of your nation. But you are a very forgiving one. Forgive me by the graciousness that comes from you, and hear my entreaty that I may be worthy of standing at your Qahalath altar. What happened to Jeroboam? He came there. May this burnt offering be acceptable to you, and do not turn me back to my ignorance because of my sins. Receive me like the lost sheep. May the Elohim who provided for our father Adam, Abel, and Noach, and our fathers Abraham, be with you, O Yaakov, and with me also. Receive my offering from me. Right, so this is his talk, right? But then it said right here, so if you have approached and have done this before you ascend to the altar, then offer your sacrifice. You know, because people be thinking like they worthy to offer something. People like, man, look at me. I'm so perfect. All the bitterness and envy and jealousy and strife and all this stuff there. Think about your lifetime. You're like, man, people got all this stuff. They claim that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Abel, Noach, Adam. Right? He went all the way to Adam and Abel, right? So if you have approached and you have done this before you were sent to the altar, then offer your sacrifice. Now you see why he seized him. The man of Elohim came. Jeroboam like seized him, want to take him out. Then he tried to get him to eat bread in his house after he healed his right hand. Right? But you shall take care and be alert that you do not grieve the Ruach of Yahuwah. Isn't that what we just read? He said, do not grieve the Qahalath Ruach. For the work of the priesthood is not easy, since it is incumbent upon every priest, a Kahan, from today until the completion of the last of the generations to the end of the world. It's still here. What you mean? What you be doing? What do you think Shaul was talking about? All this stuff inconvenient. You can't do that. Yahuwah's servant must not be. You know you can't have that in your heart. Bitterness and hatred. Oh no, you can't do that. You can't cause bitterness on somebody and ignore them when they are bitterness of soul and weeping because of you. You can't do that. I don't care. Yahuwah ain't stepping nothing on your altar. All this stuff is still here. It ain't going nowhere. It said in the world that he should not be filled by drinking of wine, no drunkenness, nor be satisfied by eating of bread, right? Nor be satisfied by eating of bread, and that he should not talk about the concerns of the world, nor listen to one who does talk about them. But the priests must expend all their efforts in their lives in prayer. Huh? You know what we just came out of? Not as much watching and prayer. And he said, can't you pray for me for 1 hour? Yahusha got killed. Much prayer and watchfulness, isn't that what ayin mean? Watching, seeing, experience. And perseverance and piety. Then we read in the second Enoch. In your afflictions walk, and your attacks walk, your goodness and evil walk, right? All that. In order that each one may petition Yahuwah successfully. Why? Moreover, every man on earth, so hold on. Every man on earth, whether wretched or fortunate, has incumbent upon him the keeping of the proper commandments. For men after a short time will be removed from this world and its intense anxiety. Then they will be engaged in Qhdsh, it says angelic service by reason of purity. They will be presented before Yahuwah and his Malachim because of their pure offerings and their Malachi angelic service, for their earthly conduct will be reflected in Shamayim. We talked about being translucent. Like, you look at the reflection in the Shamayim of the earth. He created an image and likeness. It's like being translucent. It's like something that's hidden, but it's not hidden. It's like light can reflect through it. It's the very same thing. It says, and the Malachim will be their friends because of their perfect faith, amunah, and heart. Perfect faith and purity. Great is their esteem before Yahuwah, and there is no one, either small or great, man, woman, or child, in whom Yahuwah will not make improvement. You know how they say, I'm already right. He said, no. If you be without correction, chastise, he said you are not Yahuwah's children. He said you got to improve. Practice makes improvement. He said there will not be improvement, for Yahuwah wishes that each be without fault or offense. So he don't want nobody with no bitterness and jealousy and envy, complaining, pride, arrogance. He don't want everybody with lying one to another. He don't want nobody doing that anymore. Crude joking, which are out of place. He don't even want none of that stuff anymore. Hatred, not loving. You're supposed to be loved. That's the first fruit. So he gonna always try to seek improvement. I don't want to change. I don't believe that. Who are not going to be like, you can fight against it, and then you're going to end up doing your own thing. You're going to listen to the word of Yahuwah. You're going to be like the men of Elohim, and Satan going to devour you. And then you're going to be like, what just happened? It says, for Yahuwah wishes that each would be without fault or offense, and now continue to supplicate Elohim with repentance. You know what Shimon did? He pretended to repent. He pretended with Kaf, he pretended to repent, and then he started boasting about all his powers and all this stuff he had. He had all them powers, didn't he? He boasted. I flew in the air. I did all these things, right? All this stuff that people do. I cast out spirits. I done did all types of stuff. And Yahushua gonna tell you, I never knew you. You were thinking, like, where'd he get that from? He said, I don't care all the powers you got, all the wonderful works you did. Didn't we not do all this in your name? Cast out demons in your name. I'm a prophet too. I'm a Nabiyah too. I'm a pastor too. I'm a teacher, moray teacher, husband, wife. I was a good child to my parents. You were like, I never knew none of y'all, right? Because the improvement is something that people don't want to seek. They said that improvement is something. It says, according, do not kill. It says, go with the repentance. It says, sorry, it says right here, verse 48, because he perfect purity. Great is the esteem before Yahuwah, and there is no one, either small or great, in whom Yahuwah will not make improvement, for Yahuwah wishes that each be without fault and offense. And now continue to supplicate Elohim with repentance for your past sins, and do not commit more sin. Accordingly, do not kill with the sword. And then what did he say? Do not kill with the tongue. Do not what? Do not kill with the tongue. You can kill somebody with your tongue. Bitter and salt water. He said you can kill somebody with it. Who can tame the tongue? Even James told you. Man, it's a restless evil, boy. He said, what is that? It's a restless evil. And then guess what it says? Do not kill with the tongue. Do not fornicate with your body. Isn't that what we just read? We read this all the time. He said, what do you mean? We just talk about all this stuff. We talk about all this stuff. He's like, do not fornicate with your body. Do not remain angry until sunset. Didn't we just talk about this? It's still here. Like people think, oh, it's the same thing. And then it says, do not let yourself receive unjustified praise. You're going to fall down and worship me today. Never shown told Kaf. You're going to worship me today. Look at them powers I got. You gonna worship me today? Kaf's like, man, I ain't worshiping you. You a magician. He said, I know where you got them powers from. I ain't stupid. You know, people say, I don't want to deal with that. He said, man, I know where you got them powers from. I ain't stupid. I'm like, man, I done seen this stuff. I've been around here a long time. I was around here Hoosier. I actually seen him. I handled and touched him. The one before the world even was. I saw him. You ain't seen him. And you get what he says. He said, do not let yourself receive unjustified praise, and do not rejoice at the fall of your enemies or your brothers. He said, you're supposed to make sure that nobody fails to receive the kind of Yahuwah, and that no bitterness spring up and no one be defiled by your actions. He said, don't even rejoice at it. Because you know why? Because you're not supposed to be partial in judgment. You're supposed to tell your brother. So you don't want your brother to fall. So, or sister, you're supposed to tell them the truth. Because you don't want nothing to happen to him. But you know how it'd be like Nakash. Did he actually say you turn into a false Mashiach then? And it says, do not blaspheme. Huh? What? Do not blaspheme. You know what them people did inside with Mora? They kept saying he blasphemed his tongue. You know what Shimon did to Kaf? He started blaspheming and curses and all these things at him. He said, do not blaspheme, beware of slander. Isn't that what we talk about? Beware of slander. You're supposed to put all this away. Beware. Lest you forget. And then Yahuwah say, he sent somebody you don't want to hear. He gonna send somebody and tell you something, and he gonna be like, that's the end of your life. Beware of slander, and do not look at a woman with a lustful intent. Lustful what? Eye. He said, don't look at it with a lustful eye, because if you do that, what do you think gonna happen to you? Sexual morality, adultery, fornication. That's all you're gonna be thinking about. Why do you think they got it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, Rumble? That's all they got. Google searches, Bing searches, DuckDuckGo searches. Why do you think they got it? It's everywhere. He said, get the lust out your eye. He said, don't judge according to appearance. He said, these things, and what is like them, isn't that what Shaul said? Such things like these, you shall guard against. He said, you got to be, I ain't each lapi. You got to be guarding. Because if you ain't guarding against it, you're going to get deceived. And then if you get deceived, you're going to be a false Mashiach. And you're going to be a false Mashiach among people. And then you're going to be the Nakash. You be like, man, you turned into the Nakash. The Kakash. The Nakash. Kakash. You know, your whole hand and work is to devour. Your whole life is all spent to devour and destroy people. I'm a destroyer. I'm the painful person. I'm trying to kill you. I'm trying to destroy you. Who are you? Right? And it says, do not look at a woman lustful eye. These things and what is like them you shall guard against, in order that each one of you, may be saved from the wrath which is to be manifest from Shamayim. So for this reason, the wrath of Yahuwah is coming upon the world. We just read these things all the time. He said, that's why it's coming. And guess what happened? Verse 5 said, and when the throngs who were surrounding them heard this, they cried out with one accord, saying, truly, everything which this venerable man has said is worthy of attention. Because that stuff that Kaf was saying, Shimon was trying to make it seem like, y'all, you guys, them words that you got, them words you got, that's all you got. So he was trying to make Kaf like, I got these powers though. You just got them words though, right? Them words ain't doing nothing. And guess what it says? But he remains, guess what it says? He's worthy of attention, but he remained silent and pulled up his cloak and covered his face. The assemblage and the priests who were present after a silence said, let him rest a little. Then the Malach of Elohim came to him and took him to the Shamayims. What do you think Yahushua was doing when he was here for 40 days? And what we doing? We counting toward Kal Shabuah. When he was taking out, what you think he was telling these people? What do you think he was saying to the disciples and everybody and all the stuff they did? Like essentially, Yeshayahu, they're going to lead the teaching of Shalakim and their purity. What do you think he was saying to them? It's the same teaching that was there in the time when Shaul was writing about it too. It's the same thing. What do you think Yahushua was teaching them? The same thing. It says, guess what it says? There he beheld certain things in fear. Many wild beasts were within easy reach. It says, like the brothers, so that they could not go to get of one another. Their faces were like faces of camels, and some were like the faces of dogs. Others were like the faces of lions and hyenas and tigers, and some had one eye. And Isaac said, I looked, and behold, they had agreed on a person and were hurrying him along. And when they had made a sign to the lions, those who were walking with him withdrew from him. Then the lions turned upon him and tore him apart in the middle and dismembered him. And then what happened to the man? Guess what happened? And chewed and swallowed him. And after this, they ejected him from their mouths and returned to their original state. And after the lion and others came forward and did the same thing to him, and one after the other, and they would take him, and every one of them would chew him, swallow him, and eject him, and would return to their original state. Then I said to the Malak, O Master, what is the sin which this man committed that he should have endured a burden like this? And guess what he did? You know what happened? The Malak said to me, it is because this man whom you see was at enmity with his neighbor for 5 hours. He said 5 hours. Just 5 hours. And he died without having reconciled with him. And he was handed over to 5 of the tormentors, that they might torment him a whole year for each of the 5 hours which he spent at enmity with his friend. Then the Malak said to me, O my beloved Yitzhak, see here the 60 myriads who inflict torture for each hour that the man remains hostile to his neighbor. He is brought here to these creatures who torture him, one of them for an hour until a full year is completed. If he had not been making peace and repenting of his sins before his removal and separation from his body. Right? So you see that man walking out of Sodom and Gomorrah with bitterness and weeping? So you think Yahuwah ain't writing in his book and all them tears? He see y'all and what you did. He said, why is this man crying? Why is this man in bitterness of soul? Why is this woman in bitterness of soul? Why is this woman crying? Why is this child like this? Why is this child crying in bitterness of soul? Why y'all got these people? Why y'all not trying to make this stuff right? Why y'all not trying to, I'm too big, I got a title, I'm too big, I can't come down. Why should the work cease, right? You be thinking lying. Hey man, I'm trying, but then only thing you get, your life is cursed. They add to it. Add more sin to sin. Your life is cursed, you're worthless. I'm like, this ain't even about that. They just adding more to it. Verse 21, and then he brought me a river of fire, and I saw it throbbing, and its waves rising, and about 30 cubits. And its sounds were like rolling thunder. And I looked upon many souls being immersed in the depths, about 9 cubits. And they were weeping and crying out with a loud voice and great moaning. Those who were in the river, and the river had wisdom in its fire. It had what? It had wisdom in the fire. He said, you know that wisdom that people don't want to hear? He said, you know, there's going to be wisdom in the fire. And get what it said? It will not harm the righteous. Why wouldn't it harm the righteous? But only the sinners by burning them. He said, it's going to burn you. Why? It would burn every one of them because of the stench of repugnance of the odor surrounding the sinners. Right? All that's a part of it, right? Right, so this is Testament of Solomon. Testament of Solomon. It's the Testament of Solomon. It's the Testament of Solomon. It's the Testament of Solomon. Testament of Solomon. Actually, no. Let's just get out of here. This is the 12 patriarchs. Actually, yeah, this is the Testament of the 12 patriarchs. Testament of the 12 patriarchs. Testament of Yehuda. Testament of Yehuda. God, we didn't want to go there, but I didn't get there. Yeah. Testament of Yehuda, chapter 19. Actually, Testament of Yehuda, verse 19. That's what I think this is. This is in another book. It's R.H. Charles version. So, and it says, "My children, the love of money leadeth to idolatry, because when led astray through money, men name as gods those who are not gods, and it causeth him who hath it to fall into madness for the sake of money. I lost my children, and had not my repentance and my humiliation." He says, for the sake of money, I lost my children, and had not my repentance and my humiliation and thy prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. But the Elohim of my fathers had mercy on me, because I did it in ignorance, and the prince of deceit blinded me. And I sinned as a man, and as flesh being corrupted through sins, I learned my own weaknesses, while thinking myself invincible. He said, why would Yehuda think he was invincible? Because some people think, you're so intelligent, so strong, and everything. Why would Yehuda think he's so invincible? Right? This is why. Go to verse 2. It says, "And Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house." He's like, man, I was in the field and in the house. "I know that I raced a hind and caught it. I prepared the meat for my father and did eat it. The roads I used to master in the chase and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mar I overtook and caught it and tamed it. I slew a lion and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paws and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. I outran a wild boar, seizing it as I ran, and I tore it asunder. A leopard in Hebron leaped upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail, hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain. I found a wild ox feeding in the fields, and seizing it by the horns and whirling it around and stunning it, and cast it from me and slew it. And when the two kings and the Canaanites came and sheathed in armor against our flocks and much people with them, single-handed I rushed upon the king of Hazor and smote him with greaves and dragged him down, and I slew him and others, the king of Tapua, and as he sat upon his horse I slew, and I scattered all his people. And Achor the king, a man, a giant stature, I found hurling javelins before and behind, and as he sat on horseback, and I took up a stone of 60 pounds for weight, and hurled it and smote his horse, and I killed it. And I fought this other for 5 hours, and I clave my shield in twain and chopped off his feet and killed him. And as I was stripping off the breastplate, behold, 9 men of his companions began to fight with me, and I wounded my garment of my hand, and I slung stones at them, and killed 4 of them, and rest fled. And Jacob my father slew Bislath the king, and all the kings, a giant in strength, 12 cubits high. And fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring against us. Therefore my father was free from anxiety of wars, and I was with my brother, for he saw the vision concerning me, that the Malach of might followed me everywhere. that I should not be overcome. So that is nicely what? But what happened to him? He said, I thought I was invincible. He said, what broke him down? He said, what broke him down? Verse 17. And now I command you, my children, not to love money, nor gaze upon the beauty of a woman, because for the sake of money and beauty I was led astray to Bashur the Canaanite. He said, that's what happened to me. For I know that because of these two things shall my race fall into wickedness. He said, that's the only reason. For even wise men among my sons shall they mar, and shall cause the kingdom of Yehudah to be diminished, which Yahuwah gave to me because of my obedience to my father. For I never caused grief to Yaakov, my father, for all things whatsoever he commanded I did. But guess verse 18. I know that what evils you will do in the last days. Beware therefore, my children, of fornication and the love of money. And hearken to Yehudah your father, for these things withdraw you from the Torah of Yahuwah Elohim, and blind the mind, the inclination of the soul, and teach arrogance, and suffer not a man to have compassion on his neighbor. That's the only reason one would quarrel with your neighbor for 5 hours and not be reconciled to him. It's because of money and a woman. Or a man. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. That's the reason why people won't be reconciled to each other. People say it's not rocket science. Right? And it says right here, and blind the inclination of the soul and teach arrogance. We're talking about people who believe in Yahuwah. And suffer not a man to have compassion on his neighbor. They rob his soul of goodness and oppress him with toils and trouble. Why? Because that's all they're going to do. They're going to use that money situation, they're going to use that relationship situation, and they're going to use that to oppress you, cause bitterness and anguish in your soul, bring you to weeping and crying. They're going to use all of that, and they're going to use it for many years too. More than 5 hours. And then you know what's going to happen after that? It says, and they rob his soul of goodness and oppress him with toils and troubles and drive away sleep from him. You know, we just read it in the Psalms. He said, you see my tossing you. You see my tears. Are they not written in your book? And guess what it says? And devour his flesh. Oh, you mean beyond a key. Succubus and incubus spirit. And hindereth the sacrifices. Oh, and hindereth the sacrifices of Elohim. Oh, you mean you go to the altar? You know how that altar, you know how you go to the altar, you think your stuff going to be accepted? And he remembered not the blessings of Elohim. He hearkeneth not to the Nabi, the prophet, who would speak it when he speaketh, and resenteth the words of goodness. For he is a slave to contrary passions, to two contrary passions, and cannot obey Elohim, because they have blinded his soul, and he hath walked in the day as in the night. Right, so all that's important. All that's important, right? All that's important, right? All right, so this is the last thing. This is the book of Lamech. The book of Lamech. It says the book of Lamech and Cain. Going to chapter 8, in verse 52. Lamech then lay peacefully in the grave, and when he knew what to tell Naaman, he came forth bound hand and foot with grave cloths. And he loosed them and let them off of them. For he loved Naaman with his heart and forgave her for all, saying, I will call Naaman a whore no longer, for she will be the last of her kind, and I shall prepare her for it. In all her fornication with the sons of Elohim, Naaman never conceived, and she was never killed, bearing a giant, which was what women did in that time. Naaman's flesh was then corrupted, for the ways of the son of Elohim are not man's ways. Naaman eventually put away childish things, and then later she met Nuach. Before Nuach and Naamah wed, Lamech instructed her not to tell Nuach that she had lain with the Nephilim in her youth. Time enough had passed, and Nuach did not know that whom Naamah had lain with. For Nuach saw a wife and was upright, and pure. And Naamah was not those of none of those things were available to Nuach at that time. Nor was Nuach upright and pure, for all was corrupted. Right? And Nuach and Naamah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And Ham was the palest of her children, for the mark that he carried. And the corruption that Naamah fostered in secret from Nuach and others, are they not written in the first book of Naamah? Right, so this is the last thing. Right, so this is why he says lie not one to another, right? So this is the whole point. Why? Because everybody has this in their, how you say, he said here we go, this is it. This 1 Corinthians, verse 13, verse 1. This is the last thing. 1 Corinthians 13:1. If I speak in tongues of men and malachim, but have not love, I am a noisy gong and a clanging cymbal. I'm a man Elohim too. Malachi spoke to me. Matter of fact, he told me to tell you to come and be with me. Even though he knew the truth of what the man Elohim was not supposed to do, he did it anyway. He ain't got no love in his heart. He didn't care about him, and he didn't care if he died. If I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have all amunah, I'm a prophet, not be too. So that I remove mountains, I got powers too. But have not love, I am nothing. Because ready, set, go, love. That's the first thing. That's the first thing you got to have. If I give away all that I have and deliver up my body to be burned, if I have not love, I gain nothing. Aha. Love. Love is patient. Ahab is patient, is kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable, resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoice with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away because eventually they're going to be fulfilled. That what happened to the men of Elohim. Eventually it was fulfilled. And he had died. But did the person that lied to him, did he care? Read later on, they just stayed there and watched him and looked at him. He said, they don't fail. What happens? It says, they will cease, as for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we know in part. But when the perfect comes, when that which is perfect comes, because Yahuwah is going to always try to get improvement out of everybody. As a matter of fact, he wants everybody to be without guilt and fault. He wants everybody to be perfect and pure. So expect improvement. It says, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like an immature child. When I became a mature, I gave up childish ways. Why? That's what happened. You see written, Naamah did that. Everybody be put up childish ways, but then her father tell her to lie. That still got childish ways. But even though Nuach was impure, she wasn't pure. But at the same time, improvement. But it said right here, for now we see in a mirror dimly. He said translucent. But then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now Amunah, hope, or Tikva, and Ahab abide. It's these three. But the greatest of these is love. Ahab. Fikirli, a more humble Ahaba. He said that's the greatest thing. So
you look at the greatest thing on the earth, he said, is love. Right? So we look at all that. Look at Yahushua Mashiach. Look at a lot of life. Look at the ore, the light that gives life, and understand that with no greater love than this, and when man laid down his life for his friends. But even as one, he said, hold things inside of their heart, knowing that these things are true. And the only reason these things happen is because lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. Right? Love of money, women and men, right? Relationships, all these things prevent people from actually coming to the altar and things being accepted. Why? Because people desire things of other people. And they desire the strongest thing in the world is sexual immorality, is the sexual desire of a human being. And the relationships that people desire. And these things prevent people from doing the very things that they're supposed to do at the altar. And you say, why does he always tell us not to love money? And why does he tell us to put away childish things? Why does he tell us to do these things? Why? Because it prevents you from going to the altar. And that's the whole reason why he does it. If you don't control, you have self-control within yourself, you're going to end up self-sabotaging other people just so they won't have self-control, so you can still have your flesh satisfied by them not being able to do the things that they need to do. So we look at ourselves, look at our inner being, our inner thoughts, and our inner mind. He said that the improvements only come from one actually wanting to accept improvement. And that improvement comes when one puts away all the things on the earth and seek those things which are above, that one may crucify the works of their body and the thoughts in their mind, that they may be purified within and on the outside. And being purified on the outside ain't just in your clothing, your dress. Being purified on the outside is with people and human beings in your life that one has done wrong to. Right? So we look at ourselves and the lack of love within our own heart. When we look at the lack of love in our own heart, and that lack of love and that peace that he said that passes all understanding must rest inside of us before we pass away and leave this earth. So we look at ourselves, we look at our thoughts and our mind, and we focus on Yahushua Mashiach, not to deceive one another, to be a nakash or a kakash in the garden, or he said kakash to each other, but to be a light, an or, and speak truth to your neighbor continually, that one may not fall into temptation and be swallowed up by Satan and be deceived and be following after things that one should not. So as we move forward, we look at ourselves, we look at Yahushua Mashiach, and we look at the love that he had for us. We are undeserving of any type of love and compassion or any extension of our lives, but it's by his his grace, his understanding, and his walk that we still live today. So as we move forward in that love. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth, right? This is Aleph Yukanan 2:24, right? I always say this, but I keep forgetting. 2:24, 1 John 2:24-28. That what you heard from the beginning abide in you. The beginning is love. That's ready, set, go, love. That's the first thing. And what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son and in the Father. The Son, the life of the house, and the strength of the house. This is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you, these false Mashiachs and these false prophets. But you can turn yourself into them. It can be somebody close to you. He says, deceive you. But the anointing you receive from him abides in you. You have no need that anyone should teach you. But as his anointing teaches you about everything, then it's true, it's no lie, and abide in him. Why? Because then what Yahuwah already said, and what he personally commanded you, others may not know. But you still must do what he commanded you. Even the ones, the commandments that you read that are written down, and even the ones that are written in your heart, that he personally told you. And it says, and get what it says. But the anointing in you will teach you about everything. It's not true, just as it taught you, abide in him. And now, little children, abide in him, that you may, when he appears, you may have confidence. And not shrink from him in shame at his coming. Right, so look at all that. Look at the sun is now coming back, but then it's already here. Because the day dawn and day star arises in your heart. And he said the sun already here. He said they who do wicked things hate the light, need to come to the light, that their deeds be reproved, because they're shrinking back in shame, because they don't want to hear what they have done. So we look at ourselves, we look at our inner being, we look at our inner heart and our inner mind, and walk not after our old outer man, but our inner man. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.